Ladies and gentlemen, you are not here by coincidence. No, this moment was chosen for you by something greater. Destiny has brought you here for a reason. Today I'm going to break down 6 clear signs that you are about to step into the favor of God. Before we go further, let's get something straight. Favor isn't fair. When God's favor enters your life, it sets things in motion that you couldn't have imagined. It takes you to heights you never thought possible, but it often begins in moments that feel anything but easy. Faith doesn't count until it's tested. It's simple to believe when life is smooth, when the bills are paid, and when everything seems to be falling into place. But what about when the storms hit? When the foundation you thought was unshakable starts to crumble? That's when true faith is tested, and it's often the moment right before God's favor shows up in your life. Life has a way of shaping us through challenges. It's not always pleasant, and it rarely makes sense in the moment. You might feel weighed down, questioning, why me? Maybe you're even wondering if God still hears you. Let me tell you this, if you're being tested, it's a sign that something greater is ahead. God doesn't allow battles for people who aren't destined to win. When you're in the thick of the storm and everything feels like it's falling apart, pause for a moment. Look within and ask yourself, what is holding me up? Storms have a way of exposing what we've built our lives on. If your foundation relies on things that come and go, like others' opinions, job titles, or your own understanding, it will falter under pressure. But if your foundation is anchored in God's promises, it will stand firm, no matter how fierce the storm. God permits storms to clear away anything not rooted in Him. Think about it. When life is smooth, we tend to lean on our own abilities. But when we're brought to the end of ourselves, when we're forced to surrender, that's when we truly depend on Him. And depending on Him isn't weakness, it's faith. Faith doesn't mean you won't have doubts or fears. It means choosing to trust God even when the answers aren't clear and the path is uncertain. It's waking up and saying, God, I don't know how this will turn out, but I trust you do. That trust, despite the fear and the questions, is where God starts working miracles. Remember this, the bigger the test, the greater the story you'll tell. Think of the people we look up to in faith. Joseph went from being sold into slavery to becoming a ruler in Egypt. David was hunted before he became king. Even Jesus endured the ultimate test, the cross, before the resurrection. What if Joseph had given up in the pit? What if David had quit while hiding in the cave? What if Jesus had chosen to avoid the cross? The blessing always comes after the test. You might feel overlooked right now. Maybe you've prayed and only heard silence. Maybe you've worked tirelessly, but the breakthrough hasn't arrived. Let me assure you, delay is not denial. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match our plans. Sometimes waiting is part of the test. It's God asking, will you trust me when you can't see the outcome? Will you stay faithful even when the answer seems far away? And here's the beauty of faith. It inspires others. When you hold on to your faith during trials, it strengthens you and encourages everyone watching. Your family, your friends, even people you don't know are impacted. You become a living example of God's power and grace. Don't think for a moment that your faith is unnoticed by God. Every tear, every whispered prayer, and every step you take in faith is known and remembered in heaven. Let's be honest, holding on to faith when life gets tough isn't easy. There will be days when giving up seems like the easiest option. The enemy will try to fill your mind with doubts, whispering that your efforts are pointless. That's why protecting your mind and heart is crucial. Surround yourself with people who will remind you of God's promises when you struggle to see them clearly. Fill your thoughts with His word and speak His promises over your life, even when your circumstances seem to tell a different story. You may think, "I've been holding on for so long and nothing has changed." Let me encourage you with this. Some of God's greatest works happen where you can't see them. Picture a seed buried in the ground. Before it ever breaks through the soil, it grows roots, establishing the foundation that will sustain it when it blooms. Your faith works the same way. Every time you trust God in the middle of adversity, your roots grow stronger, and when the timing is right, you'll see the results. Remember, God's favor isn't always about material blessings or quick answers. Sometimes His favor is the strength to endure, the peace to press on, or the wisdom to make the right choices. Often, the challenges that feel like they're breaking you are actually the things God uses to shape you. The difficulties you're facing now are preparing you for what He's called you to do. So don't resent the tests and don't curse the storms. Instead, change how you look at them. Ask God, "What are you showing me through this? How are you growing my faith right now?" Then trust that He is working everything out for your good. Let me end with this. Faith doesn't mean you'll never face the fire, but it does mean you'll never face it alone. God never promised an easy road, but He did promise to walk with you every step of the way. So when the storms come, don't be afraid. Don't let doubt and fear shake your faith. Stand firm. Stand on His promises. Stand with confidence that if you're being tested, it's because something amazing is on the horizon. And when you pass the test, you'll look back and see that God's favor was worth every challenge. Sometimes in life, a door will close, and it feels like the end of the line. It might be sudden, unexpected, and even painful. You might feel disappointment, confusion, or even betrayal. But let me tell you this, a closed door is not the end of the story. In fact, it could be the start of something much greater. What looks like rejection in the moment is often God's way of protecting you from something that wasn't meant for you or redirecting you towards something better. When a door closes, frustration is a common reaction. You might wonder, why would God let this happen? It's natural to question, to feel like you missed an opportunity, but consider this. That closed door might be a sign that God is at work in your life. He operates with a perspective we can't always understand. He sees what's ahead, the dangers and setbacks you can't anticipate. Sometimes He closes a door to keep you from stepping into something that could harm or delay you, or take you away from His plan for your life. Think of a child reaching for something harmful without realizing the danger. A loving parent will step in, pulling them back, even if the child doesn't understand why. That's how God works with us. He sees what we can't, and out of love, He steps in to redirect us. It may feel like a loss in the moment, but as the time goes on and the bigger picture becomes clear, you'll start to see the blessing in that closed door. When God closes a door, it's natural to focus on what's lost. You might find yourself replaying the events, questioning what you could have done differently. But dwelling on what's behind you keeps you from seeing the new opportunities God is preparing. We often hold tightly to what feels safe and familiar, but sometimes God calls us to let go of the good so He can bring something even better. It's not about staying in your comfort zone. It's about stepping fully into His plan for your life. Letting go is not easy. It takes trust, patience, and faith. You must believe that God's plan is working, even when it doesn't make sense. Growth often happens in the waiting period, the space between the closed door and the one God is about to open. During this time, He builds your character, strengthens your faith, and equips you for what's ahead. Sometimes a door closes, not because the opportunity was bad, but because it wasn't the right fit for you. Timing is everything with God. He doesn't just care about where you're going, but also when you get there. A blessing given too early can become a burden, which is why God ensures you're ready before He opens the next door. Not every closed door is meant to be reopened. We can waste time and energy trying to force our way back into situations God has already removed us from. You might try to push a door open, but when God has closed it, no effort on your part can make it right. Even if you manage to force it open, you'll quickly realize why it was shut in the first place. Trusting God means accepting that His no is as loving as His yes. In moments of doubt, reflect on your past. Can you think of times when a closed door felt devastating, but later proved to be a blessing? Perhaps it was a job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, or a path that shifted unexpectedly. At the time, it felt like failure, but in hindsight, you can see how it led to something better, an opportunity, a breakthrough, or even a deeper understanding of yourself and God's guidance. God often uses closed doors to teach us. They help us grow, build resilience, and trust Him more deeply. These moments of uncertainty are where we learn to rely on Him fully. Closed doors also teach us to surrender. They remind us that we're not in control, and that our lives are guided by a God who knows exactly what we need and when we need it. The pain of a closed door can feel heavier when we compare ourselves to others. You might wonder, why did their door open while mine stayed shut? But comparison steals your joy and clouds your perspective. What God has for someone else isn't meant for you, and what God has for you is uniquely yours. Just because your door hasn't opened yet doesn't mean it never will. Trust that His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match your expectations. Remember, God doesn't just close doors, He opens them too. And when He opens a door, no one can shut it. When the time is right, the opportunities He brings will far surpass anything you could have planned. His ways are greater than ours, and His timing is always right. Trusting Him means believing that His plan is worth the wait. Closed doors are not failures. They are part of God's plan to direct you towards something better. They show that God is actively guiding your life and shaping your path. When one door closes, don't lose hope. Instead, turn to God and seek His guidance for the next step. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, setting everything in motion for your good. A closed door isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's God saying, I have something better for you. Trust me and follow me. When you trust His lead, the path He takes you on will exceed anything you could have imagined. Don't let closed doors discourage you. See them as part of the process, understanding that each step is moving you closer to God's ultimate plan for your life. Sometimes you'll feel a quiet restlessness deep in your soul. It's not anxiety, fear, or unhappiness, but a sense that something is changing. It's an awareness that the life you've been living no longer fits where you're meant to go. Even if you don't fully understand it, you can feel it. A spiritual stirring that signals change. This feeling is not random. It's a sign that God is preparing you for something greater. When God begins to work in your life, the changes often start within you before you see anything happen outwardly. That unease or stirring in your spirit is His way of getting your attention. It's His way of saying, get ready, I'm about to do something new. While the unknown can feel overwhelming, this stirring is a reminder that God is already working on your behalf in ways you can't yet see. This restlessness often arises when you've outgrown your current season. It might feel like you're stuck, but in reality, God is getting you ready for what's next. Growth is uncomfortable. It stretches and challenges you. Think about a seed planted in the soil. Before it can grow into what it was meant to be, it must stretch, push, and even break in the darkness. That's how God works in your life. The stirring you feel is meant to push you out of your comfort zone and into your purpose. This feeling is also God's way of shifting your focus. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, chasing success, relationships, or routines, and lose sight of His plan. When God stirs your spirit, it's a call to pause and reflect. He's reminding you that your true purpose is found in Him, not in the temporary things of this world. He's calling you to release what no longer serves His plan, so that you can step into what He has prepared for you. Let's be real, spiritual restlessness can feel overwhelming. It's like being in a waiting room without instructions. You may start questioning your choices, relationships, and even your purpose. The temptation is to rush through it, force answers, or try to control the situation. But this restlessness isn't about finding quick solutions. It's about trusting God in the in-between. When God stirs your spirit, He's not asking you to figure everything out. He's asking you to trust Him, even when things don't make sense. This is where faith steps in. Faith doesn't mean you know exactly what's ahead. It means you believe that what God is preparing for you is greater than anything you could plan on your own. It's about releasing your need for control and trusting His timing and His plan. This process often involves letting go of things that no longer serve your growth. There may be habits, relationships, or even mindsets that God is asking you to release. Letting go is never easy, especially when those things once brought you joy or fulfillment. But this discomfort happens because God is clearing space in your life for something greater. He is preparing you to step into blessings that are in line with your purpose, and that often requires releasing what no longer fits. Spiritual restlessness can also bring a sense of isolation. You may notice that some relationships begin to fade, or that the environments where you once felt comfortable now feel unfamiliar. This solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. God often separates us from distractions so we can hear His voice more clearly. In those quiet moments, away from the noise, He reveals truths that we couldn't see before. One of the most challenging parts of this process is learning to wait. In a culture that thrives on instant gratification, waiting feels counterproductive. But God's timing operates differently. He is never in a rush, and He isn't constrained by our deadlines. When you feel that stirring in your spirit, it's not a signal to panic or jump into action. Instead, it's a call to seek Him. Spend time in prayer, meditate on His word, and ask Him to show you the next steps. The restlessness you feel is not about doing more, it's about drawing closer to God. During this time, protect your peace. Not everyone will understand the changes you're experiencing. Some may question your choices or try to keep you in your comfort zone. But remember, the vision God placed in your heart is for you, not for them. You don't need everyone's approval to follow God's direction. Stay tuned to His voice and let Him guide your decisions. It's important to see this restlessness as a gift, not a punishment. It's proof that God is at work in your life. He's disrupting your comfort because He loves you too much to leave you where you are. God sees potential in you, even when you don't see it yourself. He's calling you to rise to the level He created you for. This process might feel like a wilderness, uncertain and unclear, but that's okay. The same God who stirred your spirit is the one who will guide you forward. He is not a God of confusion, but of order. Even when the path feels uncertain, His presence is constant. Trust Him, lean into His wisdom, and allow Him to lead you one step at a time. Don't be afraid to dream bigger. Sometimes God stirs your spirit to expand your perspective. He's calling you to think beyond your current circumstances and past experiences. He's inviting you to step into a purpose greater than anything you've imagined. Don't limit what he can do in your life. Trust that his plans are far greater than anything you could ever ask or think. Remember, this restlessness is temporary. It's a season, not your final destination. The stirring in your spirit is a sign of transition, not stagnation. God is moving you forward, equipping you for what's next, and shaping you for a life filled with purpose and favor. When God begins preparing you for a new season, you may notice changes in your relationships. Some friendships that once felt strong may feel strained, and people you relied on might become distant. This can feel confusing and even painful, but understand this: these changes are not random. God is pruning your circle, removing relationships that no longer fit with the purpose He's calling you to fulfill. This process is part of His plan to position you for what's ahead. Relationships are incredibly influential. They shape how you think, how you grow, and even how you view yourself. The people you choose to surround yourself with can either push you closer to your purpose or pull you away from it. That's why, when God is preparing you for something greater, He often begins by refining your relationships. Not everyone is meant to go where God is leading you. While this can be a tough reality to accept, it's a lesson you must learn. It's not about anyone being bad or unworthy. Their role in your life may simply have reached its conclusion. Just like each chapter in a book serves its purpose, but doesn't carry over into the next, some relationships are only meant for a season. They help you grow, teach you lessons, or support you in specific moments. But when God is preparing you for what's ahead, He may ask you to release them. This process can feel lonely at times. You might question why certain people are drifting away, or why relationships that once felt natural now seem strained. It's important to remember that God sees things you can't. He knows the motives of every heart, the long-term effects of every connection, and how each relationship impacts your growth. Where you might see a loyal friend, God might see someone who could hinder your progress. Out of His love for you, He will step in to remove anything or anyone that no longer aligns with His purpose for your life. Sometimes this process is subtle, a gradual drifting apart that happens naturally. Other times it's sudden, like a door slamming shut without warning. Both are part of God's plan, and while it may hurt in the moment, trust that He is clearing space for the right people to enter your life. One of the most challenging parts of this pruning process is realizing that not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some people may feel insecure or envious of the changes in your life. They may question your choices or fail to support your progress. While this can feel discouraging, don't let it stop you. Remember, your path is uniquely yours, and not everyone is equipped to walk it with you. Not all relationships need to end. Some can grow and evolve alongside you. There are people in your life who may not understand your growth at first, but are willing to adapt and grow with you. These are the relationships worth investing in. Look for those who encourage you to become better, who celebrate your victories without jealousy, and who challenge you to keep moving forward. These people are part of the support system God has designed to walk with you into the next season of your life. As relationships shift, it's crucial to guard your heart. Losing people can create space for feelings of resentment or bitterness if you're not careful. Holding on to those emotions will only weigh you down. Instead, choose to let go with gratitude. Thank God for the role those individuals played in your life, and trust that their departure is part of His greater plan. As God removes certain people, He will also bring new individuals into your life. These new connections will align with your purpose, challenge you to grow, and support you in ways you may not have experienced before. But to receive them, You must be willing to let go of what no longer fits. Be intentional about the relationships you form moving forward. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, and not everyone who supports you has pure motives. Pray for wisdom. Ask God to help you. See people's true intentions and to guide you in forming relationships that align with His plan for your life. During this time, you'll likely notice that your relationship with God grows deeper. When people leave, it creates space for you to lean on Him more fully. In the absence of others, you'll find that God's presence is constant, His love is unwavering, and His strength is more than enough. This season of refining relationships is not about being isolated, it's about preparation. God is carefully placing the right people in your life, those who will help you step into your purpose. He is forming a circle that reflects His love, wisdom, and plans for your future. While this process might feel challenging, it will lead to something greater. As you experience these changes, be open to God's guidance. Be ready to release relationships that no longer fit and welcome the new connections He brings into your life. Trust that every change in your relationships is intentional, part of His design to position you for what's ahead. Remember, those who are meant to be in your life will remain, not because you force it, but because God has placed them there. This isn't just about relationships. It's about equipping you for what's next. The people you surround yourself with play a critical role in your growth, and God wants to make sure your circle supports and uplifts you as He moves you into His favor. So embrace this process, trust what God is doing, and know that each change is leading you closer to your purpose. There are times in life when challenges seem to come from every direction. Problems arise unexpectedly. Paths that once felt smooth become blocked, and what was easy now feels overwhelming. In these moments, it's natural to feel frustrated or question why things are so difficult. But this isn't a coincidence. Resistance often appears when you're on the verge of something significant. The enemy doesn't waste his energy on anything that doesn't pose a threat. When opposition increases, it's often a sign that you're nearing a breakthrough. God has prepared for you. Resistance often feels relentless, coming in waves that test every area of your life. Your peace, your confidence, even your relationships may feel under attack. People you relied on may start to doubt you, and unexpected challenges can arise in areas that once felt secure. This isn't random. It's a spiritual strategy designed to wear you down and distract you. Instead of letting it discourage you, recognize it as confirmation that you're on the right path. Opposition often signals that God is about to do something incredible in your life. When you're moving closer to His plans for you, the enemy takes notice. He sees the impact you'll have when you fully step into your calling and works to stop you before you get there. But here's the good news. No resistance is greater than God's power. In fact, God often allows challenges to prepare you for the blessings He's bringing. The struggles you face now are building the strength you'll need for what's ahead. It's easy to believe that opposition means you've made a mistake, but more often it means the opposite. When you're walking in God's will, resistance is part of the process. The enemy doesn't attack what he already controls. He focuses on those stepping into their divine purpose. That's why it's so important to remain steady, even when the pressure intensifies. Your endurance is a sign of your faith and trust in God. The Bible is filled with examples of people who faced significant resistance just before experiencing breakthrough. David had to face Goliath before being recognized as a leader. Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment before becoming a ruler in Egypt. Even Jesus faced rejection, betrayal, and the cross before the victory of the resurrection. In each story, the challenges weren't signs of failure. They were the final steps before triumph. When you're under attack, it's natural to feel drained and question if the fight is worth it. You may doubt whether you have the strength to keep going, but here's the truth. You're not in this battle alone. God is with you, and His power is strongest when you feel weakest, when you rely on Him. He will sustain you, guide you, and equip you to face every challenge. The resistance you're experiencing isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to strengthen you. Opposition serves another purpose. It refines you. It brings to the surface what's inside, your faith, your character, and your trust in God. Challenges give you the chance to grow, depend more deeply on Him, and develop the traits you'll need for what's ahead. Strength is forged in the struggle, and every difficulty is an opportunity to prepare for the next season of your life. One of the hardest parts of facing resistance is the temptation to quit. When things get tough, it's easy to question whether you're on the right path or whether it's worth continuing. But quitting is exactly what the enemy wants. If he can get you to give up, he can stop you from stepping into God's plan for you. This is why perseverance is crucial. Keep moving forward, even when the road feels hard. Trust that God is working behind the scenes, putting everything into place for your good. In times of resistance, stay rooted in God's Word. The Bible is your source of strength and encouragement, constantly reminding you of God's promises and faithfulness. When you feel tired or overwhelmed, turn to Scripture. Let it refresh your mind and refocus your heart. Spend time in prayer, asking God for strength, clarity, and guidance. Surround yourself with people who will uplift and encourage you during this season. Resistance often brings clarity. It forces you to reassess your priorities, your motivations, and where you place your trust. Are you relying on your own strength, or are you depending on God? Are you chasing temporary success, or are you pursuing His purpose for your life? Challenges have a way of stripping away distractions and bringing focus to what truly matters. Sometimes the resistance you're facing isn't just about you. It could be about breaking through barriers that have existed for generations, patterns, beliefs, or struggles in your family or community that God is calling you to overcome. Breaking through those barriers is never easy, but it's always worth it. You're not only fighting for yourself, but also paving the way for others who will come after you. Your determination has the power to create a lasting impact. It's important to remember that resistance is temporary. No storm lasts forever, and no challenge is greater than God's power. The difficulties you're facing today will become the story of victory you share tomorrow. God is known for turning setbacks into setups for something greater. Trust that He's using every challenge to prepare you for the blessings ahead. When you face opposition, remind yourself of who you are and whose you are. You are a child of God, empowered by His Spirit and backed by His promises. The enemy may try to discourage or intimidate you, but he has no power over your life. God's plans for you are good, and His purpose will come to pass. Stand firm in this truth and let it carry you through the battle. Resistance isn't a signal to stop. It's a reason to keep going. It's a sign that you're on the verge of something incredible. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the harder the resistance may become. But don't let that scare you. Let it motivate you. Keep pressing forward, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. The challenges you're facing now are shaping you for the blessings that are coming. They're preparing you to handle the greatness of God's favor and to walk fully in His purpose for your life. Lean into the resistance, trust God's timing, and remind yourself that your breakthrough is nearer than it seems. When the pressure feels the greatest, it's often because victory is just around the corner. Stay committed, stay focused, and watch as God turns every challenge into an opportunity for His favor. There are times when, as God prepares you for His favor, you'll experience a stillness in your life. It's as if the pace you once moved at suddenly slows. Opportunities you expected may seem to pause, doors you were sure would open stay closed, and the plans you've been working on appear to stall. This stillness can feel unsettling, especially in a world that values constant motion and visible progress. But this divine stillness is not a sign of delay or denial. It's a sign that God is working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. This stillness isn't empty, it's actually full of purpose. It's a time when God is doing significant work beneath the surface of your life, just like a seed remains unseen beneath the soil before it bursts into growth. This season of stillness is where God prepares you for what's ahead. He's aligning circumstances, refining your heart, and removing anything that could hinder the blessings. He's getting ready to pour into your life. To truly understand the value of this stillness, you need to adjust your perspective. Rather than viewing it as inactivity, recognize it as a sacred time where God is shaping you for the next steps. Often this pause invites deep reflection, as though God is asking you to step away from the distractions and busyness of life to realign your focus. In this space, you're given the chance to assess your priorities, examine your motivations, and strengthen your relationship with Him. It's a time to ask yourself hard questions. Is your heart aligned with God's will, or are you pursuing your own ambitions? This reflection isn't about feeling guilt or doubt. It's about finding clarity and alignment. It ensures that as you move forward, you do so with purpose and a heart fully surrendered to God's plan. Stillness also calls for trust, even when you can't see progress. It's easy to feel like nothing is happening. But faith isn't about what's visible. It's about believing in God's promises. Trusting Him during stillness means knowing He's orchestrating things you can't manage on your own. It's about surrendering your timeline to His and trusting that His timing is always right. God's delays are not His denials. Often they're His way of protecting you from stepping into something too soon. He knows exactly what you need, when you need it, and how best to bring it to pass. Stillness can also test your patience. Waiting isn't always easy, especially when you feel ready to move forward. But patience is more than just enduring the wait. It's about how you choose to wait. Will you wait with frustration and doubt, or will you wait with faith and anticipation? These moments of stillness are where God teaches patience, helping you trust His process instead of rushing ahead with your own plans. This patience you are developing isn't just for the season you're in now. It's a lifelong quality that will help you handle the blessings and challenges in your next chapter. During this time, God may also remove distractions from your life. Certain doors may close, and things you've grown attached to may be taken away. While this process can feel painful, it's important to understand that what seems like loss is actually preparation. God is clearing space for the blessings He's about to pour into your life, ensuring you're ready to fully receive what He has planned. One of the most powerful aspects of stillness is the opportunity to deepen your connection with God. Without the distractions of constant activity, His voice becomes clearer. This is the time to draw closer to Him through prayer and reading His Word. In these quiet moments, God reveals His heart, guiding you and providing the wisdom you'll need for the road ahead. The closeness you develop with Him during this season will serve as a foundation for everything that follows. Stillness is also a time for healing. Many of us carry wounds from past disappointments, betrayals, or failures. Wounds that, if left unaddressed, can hold us back from stepping fully into God's favor. In the stillness, God invites you to confront these hurts and allow Him to heal them. While this process may be uncomfortable and require vulnerability, it leads to freedom. Once healed, you can step forward without the weight of the past dragging you down. Another important aspect of stillness is the clarity it brings. When life moves quickly, it can be hard to hear God's direction or recognize His plans. In the quiet, you can hear Him more clearly. He begins to show you the next steps, the doors He's preparing to open, and the purpose He has for you. This clarity is about more than just knowing where to go. It's about seeing your life through God's perspective and understanding His greater plan. Stillness is also a time of strengthening. Even though it may feel like you're not making progress, God is building your faith, resilience, and character. He's equipping you with the tools you'll need to handle the blessings and challenges that come with your next season. Like a tree whose roots grow deeper during a storm, your spiritual foundation is being fortified. You may not see the full impact of this strengthening now, but it will become evident when you face future challenges with confidence and unwavering faith. This season of stillness also serves as a reminder of who is in control. It's easy to believe that your efforts alone will bring about success, but stillness shifts the focus back to God's power. He is the author of your story, the one who opens doors, creates opportunities, and brings favor into your life. Your role isn't to strive, but to surrender, trust Him, and let Him lead. Though stillness can feel uncomfortable, it's essential to accept it without trying to rush through it. Resist the urge to force things to happen or fill the silence with unnecessary distractions. Lean into this time, allowing God to work in and through you. Trust that He is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. When the time is right, God will act. Doors will open, opportunities will arise, and His favor will become evident in your life. As you go through this season, remember that stillness isn't about inactivity. It's about intentional preparation. It's God's way of readying your heart, aligning your focus with His, and equipping you for the blessings ahead. Accept the stillness, trust His plan, and know that the same God who brought you to this place will lead you into His favor. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on these moments that signal God's favor, remember that His process is as intentional as His promise. Every challenge, every change, every quiet moment is part of His careful preparation to lead you into His greatness. Walking in God's favor isn't about chasing blessings. It's about becoming who God created you to be. It's about trusting His timing, allowing Him to refine you, and standing firm even when the process feels overwhelming. This path isn't always easy, but God's favor is worth the preparation. His plans for you are bigger than you can imagine, and His purpose is greater than any obstacle you face. As you leave today, hold on to hope, trust His process, and move forward in faith. Your season of favor is on its way. Stay focused, stay surrendered, and watch as God takes you to places you never dreamed of. His favor doesn't just bless you, it changes you, preparing you to bless others and fulfill the extraordinary purpose He has for your life. May you step boldly, trustfully, and walk confidently into everything God has for you. Thank you, and may God bless you.